Now, I cover a lot of budget smartphones here on TechSpert, but if you're really strapped for cash, then potentially an option for you might be the fresh new Honor 9A. And yeah, I realise it's not the most exciting of boxes, obviously not the final retail effort, this is just what my sample came in. But take my word for it, it is the Honor 9A stuffed inside. Now, it'll cost you just 129 quid here in the UK, making it a strong rival to the likes of the Nokia 5.3 and the Motorola G8. So I'm going to whip the Honor 9A on out of its rather lovely box and take you on a full-on tour of the hardware and the software in case you're tempted to grab one for yourself. And for more on the latest greatest tech, please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers. Now, first up, it might not say Honor 9A on the front, but this is pretty much what you can expect if you do bag yourself one of these smartphones. The handset itself, of course, bit of literature and your porky pin device. You got your adapter and you got your USB cable as well, although of course if you buy it in the UK you should get your 3-pin UK adapter. And bad but not exactly unexpected news on the USB cable front, because it is micro USB, not type C, pretty much standard around this sort of price point still. But enough of that boring nonsense, onto the actual phone itself, which actually looks alright for a £129 handset. Certainly looks more attractive than the Nokia 5.3 which I just reviewed, which costs 150 quid, so a little bit more. It is just a plastic back, you can't expect premium materials like glass at this sort of price point, so you can expect it to probably scratch up a little bit if you don't take extra care or slap a cover on it. And I can already see as well it's going to be attracting dust and hairs and fluff like a mother. Thankfully, no such worries around the front of the Honor 9A, because what you actually get is a pre-installed screen protector, so that'll absorb any scratches, scuffs, things like that, and if it gets too bad you can just whip that off and then stick a new one on. And the choice of colours is fairly measly with the Honor 9A. You can grab it in this midnight black effort, which is a pretty straightforward black, as you can see there. Otherwise you can also grab it in phantom blue, which is that kind of aquamarinery colour that Honor and Huawei have enjoyed for quite some time. Let's give it another quick dusting off. That grime is showing up pretty bad on this black model. But yeah, as far as the design goes, of course, not really much in the way of frills or flair, but I do quite like the curved finish. It feels nice in the hand, got a good bit of heft to it, that's for sure. And I like the fact that the camera grille doesn't really jut much out from the surface there. It's almost level, just a tiny bit. And of course, you've got a rear mounted fingerprint sensor there as well, centrally positioned quite high up, so it should be easy enough to find without having to sort of grope around for it, and slightly indented as well to make it quite obvious. Now, if we get that pokey pin device on the go, pull open that SIM tray and see what we got. As you can see there, you've actually got room for 2 SIM cards at once, which is great. Always good to see a good bit of dual SIM action. And there's also space there for a micro SD memory card of up to 512 gigs in size to expand the onboard already pretty generous 64 gigs of memory. Right, so just going to get the Honor 9A all set up and then we can take a tour of the rest of the handset. Alright, so we are all booted up and the Honor 9A is ready for action. And what you get here is a lovely bit of Android 10 with Magic UI 3.1 slathered on top. That's Honor's very own overlay. Is it really magic? Not really, it's basically just Huawei's Emotion UI by a different name with a few little tweaks here and there, but it's pretty much the same thing. And of course you've got all those great Android 10 features like a good bit of dark mode action, you got your swipe navigations, all that shenanigans. Unfortunately, what you do not get is Google services. Instead, it's the good ship HMS all the way. So that means no Google apps on here either. I did use the phone clone tool, which comes pre-installed here on the Honor 9A, to get some of my apps off my old smartphone, copy them across, but none of the Google ones wanted to work, unfortunately. Besides that, you've got Huawei's very own app gallery to download fresh apps, and it's starting to get better. It's getting a growing selection, starting to get some more local UK stuff. You can also use third-party app stores such as Amazon's App Store, which actually came pre-installed here on the Honor 9A. And that's obviously been around for a good few years, so the selection on there is starting to get better as well. And again, not quite as strong as the likes of the Google Play Store, but you've got a good few games on there, lots of time wasters. You've got some of the bigger apps, entertainment stuff like the BBC iPlayer, of course, Amazon's on stuff like Prime Video, music, etc. And Huawei's doing everything it can to sort of help you find apps that you might need as well. So you've now got the Petals Search app as well, so an app to help you find other apps basically. It's not quite there, unfortunately. A lot of these so-called apps, they're actually just web clients basically, so the likes of Disney Plus, for instance, you hit go and it just loads it up in a sort of browser window. And it can at least put a link to it on your desktop so you can get straight back to it in a jiffy, but unfortunately the Disney Plus one didn't work at all. Basically it says log in with your creds. I did so, and then it just said download the app from Google Play, which obviously you can't because you don't got it. And then of course your final option is just downloading Android APK files from the internet. I definitely recommend a service like APK Mirror if you're going to do that, because you might end up downloading something dodgy, some crapware, spyware basically, stuff like that. So definitely caution kiddies. And you do get a fair few apps pre-installed here on the Honor 9A, some of which I would definitely term as crapware. So for instance the likes of WeGo flights and hotels, whatever that is. And thanks to that Amazon App Store, you can get a fair few of the video streaming apps installed as well, including the likes of iPlayer, Crunchyroll, stuff like that. As for the security side of things, well, so far that rear-mounted fingerprint sensor seems absolutely fine, so reasonably responsive. Once you tap your finger, generally only takes about half a second or so for your desktops to pop up, nice and quick and easy. And you do have full face recognition here on the Honor 9A as well, so just a quick tap of that power button, it'll scan for your mug, and as you can see, you're generally straight in as long as the lighting conditions are alright. So for 129 quid, pretty good. As for the screen, it's a 6.3 inch IPS. It's got an HD resolution, 1600 by 720, which is basically the minimum you would expect these days, even at this sort of budget price. And so far seems absolutely fine, just for kicking back with the show, something like that. Something nice and bright on those top levels, so outdoor visibility should be fine, viewing angles and everything all right. Colors and contrast, sort of, as you'd expect for a budget blower, not amazing, but will do the job. On the audio front, you get a single bottom firing mono speaker here on the Honor 9A, though at least on the top volume, it seems pretty powerful. It's greatest tech and lots more Motorola phones, no doubt. Please do box subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers. So I certainly wouldn't use it to listen to music or anything, but definitely the clarity for video and everything is absolutely fine. I've heard a lot worse at this sort of price. And Honor has included a party mode here on the Honor 9A as well, which apparently allows you to share your audio with another smartphone quickly and easily, although you've got full Bluetooth 5 support on here anyway, so you can split the audio between a couple of different headphones, a couple of different speakers, so I'm not really sure what the point of that is. And if you don't like going wireless, then the good news is you do get a proper headphone jack housed here on the bottom as well, huzzah. And pretty impressively for a budget smartphone, the Honor 9A also supports NFC as well, which is fairly rare at this sort of price point, although obviously the likes of Google Pay ain't exactly going to be working on this thing. As for the performance, well, it's actually, for a change, not one of Huawei's own Kirin chipsets packed inside this bad boy. Instead, it's a Mediatek Helio P22. And touch wood, it seems to be doing a fairly happy job with Android 10, backed along by 3 gigs of RAM. If you like all the geeky, nerdy details as well, take note that this isn't the MT6762T as found in the Sony Xperia L4 and a few other budget blowers. It is in fact the MT6762R, which I'm assuming is a slight step down, but as I say, here on the Honor 9A, it seems to do the job. Because I wouldn't expect to do a huge amount of gaming with this thing, but the likes of the Amazon App Store is packed full of very simple little sort of puzzle games and time wasters and stuff. It should be absolutely fine with a lot of those, your Jewel Crushers or whatever it is. And great news on the battery front as well, because it's a 5,000 milliamp cell stuffed inside of the Honor 9A, so that should keep you going easily a full day. I reckon probably 2, maybe even stretch it into a 3rd day, based on the fact that it's a quite energy efficient Mediatek chipset running the show as well. Which brings us neatly onto the Honor 9A's camera tech, and what you get is a triple lens setup, not bad at all for 130 quid. So what you got is a 13 megapixel primary lens, a 5 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, and a basic 2 megapixel depth sensor for your portrait shots. So let's load up the Honor 9A's camera app and take some shots of a spangly rainbow unicorn, which is, let's face it, fast becoming a hobby of mine. So it looks like a pretty stripped down, simple camera UI, which is definitely fine by me. As you can see, of course, take a photo like so. You can manually focus, you can fiddle around with the brightness as well if you like, but you do actually have a dedicated Pro mode as well, something you still don't get on a £1,000 iPhone. So you mess around with the ISO levels, shutter speeds, all that kind of shenanigans. And swapping between that 13 megapixel primary lens and the 5 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, just a case of tapping that icon there. As you see, that obviously gives you a wide angle view, shock horror. You've got no dedicated HDR action or anything, and the automatic photo mode, you do actually have to dive into a separate mode for that one, so if you've got any high contrast scenes, you can get that on the go. And if you want to take a portrait shot, well, it's basically the aperture mode right here, so just make sure you're not too close to your subject, not too far away. Give that a shot, and then hopefully you'll get a nice bit of sort of background blur action. As you can see, if you tap here, that'll change the aperture level, which basically is just the level of blur that you get in the background. As for your home movies, well, it looks like you can once again swap between that primary lens and the ultra wide angle lens. I'm guessing with the primary lens, it probably tops off at full HD resolution. Yeah, it's stick at 720p by default, but you can bump it up to full HD if you're using that primary lens. And the frame rate, just 30 FPS. Yeah, I'd have been surprised if there was a 60 FPS option. As for the photo and the video quality here on the Honor 9A, well, I certainly would not expect wonders. As you can see, this indoor photo, admittedly the lighting isn't perfect. It's quite soft and grainy. It'll be fine for your sort of your everyday little shots. Simple shareable things for the likes of Twitter and Facebook, but yeah, I'd stick to that. And last up, you've got an 8 megapixel front facing camera as well, which again should be fine for your very simple shareable shots. As you can see, just locks onto your face. You've got hopefully uses a bit of the no, you've got no portrait mode using that front facing camera, so you're stuck with just your bog standard snap. Let's see how gorgeous I look in this one. Yep, absolute stunner. Christ, I need more sleep. And if you want to shoot a bit of front-facing video action as well, you can do that, and it looks like it again tops off at 1080p. And that right there in a nutshell is the Honor 9A. As you can see, if your budget is super tight, 120, 130 quid, and you don't mind the lack of Google services, then it'll definitely do the job. It's got some decent specs and features. However, just a little bit more cash and you'll be able to afford the likes of the Nokia 5.3, the Motorola G, which offers a nice clean stock version of Android 10 with all of those Google apps and services for your enjoyment. So it'd be great to hear your thoughts down below. If you've actually been using the Honor 9A, that would be great to hear from you guys as well. Your own personal little mini reviews down in the comments. And please do poke, subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a lovely week. Cheers everyone, love you.